I feel you, babe. It's not easy when you come into a room and you have to kind of figure it out and dance, and sometimes you feel really disconnected from who you are. That's the problem with joy.
Amy, my Inside Out 2 was so good. Thank you so much for talking with me about it.
Thank you.
Has this just been like all-day therapy sessions, basically, talking about this movie so far?
We've been talking about a lot of feelings. A lot of feelings. Cool.
I imagine, yeah, I mean, watching it, it felt like I got like a free therapy session, and I learned how to deal with anxiety quite a bit. We'll get to that. But first, I have a question for you, because sometimes I'll walk into like an interview room, and I might not be having the best day. Sometimes sadness is getting me. I'm feeling anxiety about whether this is going to go well, and I have to show joy.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like in comedy and performing, joy is constantly, it's like it's kind of an image that's expected of you. So has there ever been a moment, like a scene that you think people really enjoyed, or something you've done in your career where we all felt so much joy watching it, we thought you were feeling joy, but really it might not have been such a joyful day, you might have been going through something or something like that?
Well, you know, when you do live television, for example, at SNL, there's definitely so many things happening, and I wouldn't say that joy is necessarily like number one. I think there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of like want to get it right, a lot of like expectation and stuff, definitely, and you want to fake that, you know, kind of fake it till you make it. But I've been lucky. A lot of the stuff I get to do has some pathos in it, so you can kind of work with what you got. And I know, like on Parks and Rec, for example, there was definitely, you know, that character got to have like a lot of big feelings, and they weren't always in this high register of joy. But I feel you, babe. It's not easy when you come into a room and you have to kind of figure it out and dance, and sometimes you feel really disconnected from who you are. That's the problem with joy.
Yeah, and we're all kind of playing, like, at least when we're on camera, we are playing that joy up, and joy takes the wheel, but
totally.
Then sometimes anxiety kicks in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And anxiety was a fantastic new addition to the Inside Out world, and brilliant job with the portrayal. The visual representation of anxiety and an anxiety attack were fantastic. So I would love to just hear about kind of what did you have to do to make sure the pace of the voice, like everything about this character sort of really gave us the impression of like, oh wow, this is nonstop. This is a thing that might mean well and try to protect us, but ultimately needs to learn how to be kept in check so we can use it to our advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of anxiety personally, as I think most people do. I mean, I'm not debilitating most of the time, but I think the character really touched me, and it gave me the tools with which to realize that my anxiety was intending to protect me. Mm-hmm. And then if I looked for, when I was feeling, you know, my heart rate go up and overwhelmed, what was the intention? You know, and then therefore try to be like, okay, well, I can work with you. Like maybe I could figure out what you intended, and therefore we can try to get there together a different way that's not like a panic attack, preferably. And though sometimes, you know, anxiety can come out in intense ways, even in intense moments of relief. Like the most recent time I had a panic attack recently was just relief. Like something I was really worried was going to go badly ended up going well. And I was like, oh, like, you know, it's like, it was really intense. And so I used a lot of stuff from my own life, but I also just really trusted. You know, you don't get to see that animation or that image. I was so blown away when I saw it. And so you just trust in that the group of people around you are guiding you toward, you know, hitting the nail on the head, and you do a lot of different versions, and you just hope, you know, that you know that they're going to thread that needle beautifully.
No, they did a really good job, and your work on it was awesome. So I'm going to on a higher note. If I love the addition of Pouchy.
Pouchy.
We'll let people discover Pouchy when they see the movie, but Pouchy sort of has 3 items coming out of Pouchy at all times. If you were to have a Pouchy that you could reach in, and there were 3 things that you knew would bring you joy if you had them, what would those 3 things be for each of you?
This is kind of an embarrassing answer, but I'm going to say it. My phone, my phone, and a charger for my phone.
That's like saying if I could have 1 wish,
I know,
ask for 3 wishes.
I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it. I'm working on it.
I love the honesty of that answer.
Thanks.
And I think it's probably pretty true for me too. If like I'm like in any kind of anxious situation and I need like a thing better, okay.
My phone brings me anxiety.
My dad and I have started playing, well, me too, but my dad and I have started playing this watermelon game on our phones, and he was making fun of me for playing it for a while, and I was like, it's really relaxing, and now he addictively plays watermelon game, and so I would love watermelon game, but really, if I had a Pouchy, I would want it to be like Hermione's magic bag. I mean, I know I'm kind of breaking the world right now, but I'd want it to be like Hermione's bag, and I'd want to be able to get inside Pouchy. That's what I would want most out of Pouchy, is the ability to like be like, okay, would you carry this for a second? Hold on, okay,
Get in
now
there.
I'm in and I'm zipped in and I'm just like, perfect. Maybe with my phone.
Just in there, yeah. Nobody can reach me, but I can reach. Okay. Thank you so much. Inside Out 2 is fantastic. You both are wonderful.
Thanks, Brandon.
Inside Out 2 was awesome. So thank you so much for talking to me about it.
Thank you for watching
Congratulations. Please, I love the first Inside Out. So honestly, I was a little bit like, oh, please be good.
I know.
Please be good.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fear and disgust are typically emotions that we associate as things we don't want to feel.
Sure.
That's right.
Inside Out shows us why they are emotions that can be powerful and useful.
Yes.
Yes.
So I would love to hear if, in working on these movies, has it helped you sort of discover new things about these emotions that you portray, learn to appreciate them at all?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because that's what I want people to walk away with, just to have a little more compassion to them. I spent a lot of years of my life trying to push them away. And so they're really trying to help. And that scene at the end where they come together around the sense of self,
Yeah.
was huge.
This is a big one. I mean, I learned that they're there to protect us, like in a very real way. Fear is there to protect us from danger. Disgust, same thing.
Thank you, Liza.
You're welcome. Not Tony. Fear.
Oh, okay.
But you protect me. And envy. They are our teachers and protectors. Envy points us to what we want. And it's just when they get into overdrive that it becomes, bad. But the emotions themselves are our helpers and our protectors.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that sense of self, so I don't want to spoil anything, but
Sure.
there is that powerful, Pixar gut punch that we just get every time.
Yeah.
In the first one, we got it here.
Yeah, we got with Bing Bong.
Oh, Bing Bong. We don't talk.
Yeah.
We don't talk
We only
about
have 4
Big
minutes,
Bang.
guys. We can't. Thank you. But as a viewer, those are powerful emotional moments for me to
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
I love to hear when you're reading it for the first time or whether you're delivering it. When does the emotion of the scene hit you for the first time in portraying those powerful Pixar moments?
For me, it was seeing it, because we really didn't see a script initially. Like you're working with pieces. So like I didn't see any of her scenes actually until the movie, and then that gut punch moment, I didn't see it until the movie. So
wow.
I had the same reaction you did.
And I had a couple gut punch. There's that moment where they all embraced. And then there was also the manifestation of the anxiety attack. Seeing poor little baby anxiety
I know.
go in a whirling dervish and be frozen,
Yeah.
that brought me to tears, because that is what
Yeah,
it is.
we've all been there.
And she's just trying to help. That emotion is just trying to help.
And just a visual representation of an anxiety attack. I was like, oh my God, we've all been there.
We've all
Oh,
been
good.
there.
Yeah. And even like joy and sadness, just holding hands in the beginning. Oh,
Yes.
Okay, so I have the same question, just altering one word for each of you.
Sure.
First, how has fear ever helped you or steered you away from something in a positive way? How has fear ever had a positive impact on your life?
How has fear had a positive impact? I mean, I think, honestly, I look at my career. Like, my characters, there's a lot of fear in them, and there's a lot of anxiety in them. And something that I went through in high school and middle school had a lot of those things. But how it's been used for entertainment and good, that's nice to see that arc.
I mean, I think it's something that helps me when I walk in the room. Like, I'm afraid if this goes poorly, so it makes
Yeah,
me prepare. You know what
sure.
I mean?
That's right.
And so, have you ever had an instance where maybe disgust helped you overcome something, or feel, or just avoid a bad situation, or something like that? Has there ever been a
100%.
positive effect of disgust in your life?
Yeah, mostly positive. I mean, person to person, maybe it's kept me away from people that maybe wished harm on me, but on the surface they were cool and shiny. But there was like a sense that I got that's like what they're doing is a little off-putting to me.
Yeah.
And then like in the tactile, like food, like if it looks a little rancid, it probably is.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, my last question for you both. There's a moment in the film where Riley's music knowledge that she accumulated as a little kid comes in handy. It's this thing that you probably thought was never going to matter, but you have this wealth of knowledge from childhood. Is there something in your life that you became a wealth of knowledge, an expert on, that maybe every once in a while you're like, oh yeah, that's a random little thing I know everything about and I like talking about?
Ooh.
Dogs and dog breeds and how to train dogs and how to give them oral medication.
That is very specific. I love it.
Ask me anything.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start.
Yeah,
We both know a lot about dog breeds. No, I think I just go to desserts for some reason. I know what I like, and McFlurry from McDonald's is like I'm an expert on it.
There you go. And when the ice cream machine is not down, of course.
Thank you.
How
Yeah.
many calories
Let's not
does a
bring that up.
McFlurry have, Tony?
Yeah. What?
How many calories does a
Well, I
McFlurry
don't
have?
need-
You could have said 560.
We would have believed it, yeah. Well, thank you so much. You're both
Thanks,
awesome.
man.
This movie was a blast. Inside Out 2 was fantastic, so thank you so much for talking with me about it.
Thank you.
Of course. Lewis, I'm going to come to you first. Anger is a character. I love this character. He's so entertaining, and he's also, I feel like I see myself in him quite a bit. And I've loved your comedy for a long time, and I feel like anger is part, like, you find a way to make anger funny all over the place. And you use it in a way that I don't see other people use it. I'd love to hear about kind of tapping into that. How do you find a way to show anger as a pro when a lot of times it's associated as something like, oh, I don't want to be angry, but you find a way to make it fun and light and entertaining and do
Well,
it.
because it's a comedy is, this is a bit of math talk, but comedy is tension and release. So you build, what's interesting is you can build the tension with being angry, and then you can knock it out, and people are, and you pause, and now people are all kind of tense, and then you say something goofy, and then wah ha ha ha. So and then I found ways to modulate it, and it's like scoring. Anger is like scoring a piece of music when you're dealing with it as performance. Mm-hmm. So it's really something that's got all sorts of levels from time to time, and it's great in terms of the fact that you can kind of approach it as like you're being really calm, and then you just snap, which always. And it's something that everybody feels and doesn't express, and that's part of the hook that I had as a comic.
I love what you're saying. It reminds me of Gene Wilder in the original Willy Wonka film, where he's walking with the crutch, and that's the tension. The release is suddenly he just does a rolling somersault, and it's like, and it's hilarious. It's amazing, you know.
Yeah, I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I have like a wrestling-esque question for you about Inside Out 2. Now that you understand the psychology and the storytelling behind wrestling, which of the emotions of the characters from Inside Out 2 do you think would make for a really good gimmick in the wrestling world?
Oh, far and away, anger. Absolutely. Because it doesn't matter what he or she would do in the ring. It would just be about the promos. Yeah. You'd be so excited when Anger gets the mic and goes, well, let me tell you what happened today. And you just, that spirit of Lewis Black's comedy would come through. That'd be a hit character in wrestling.
Do you find a lot of parallels between the comedy worlds and the wrestling worlds?
Oh, of course. I find it's so funny that people make fun of wrestling as this is such a dumb, monster truckian sort of hobby for people. But the reality is, you see professional wrestling everywhere in the world. I mean, the political arena has never looked more like a wrestling arena than right now. It's very funny.
You're not wrong about that. I would love to hear, we have new emotions in this film, embarrassment, one of them. Are there any emotions you think would be fun to play with that didn't make the cut, but you think are kind of big drivers of human emotion in life that weren't in Inside Out 2?
God.
Competition seems like it could be one in a future film.
Yeah, and there was something else that they cut, and I can't remember what it was.
I think they put like guilt or shame on the cut.
Shame. It may have
Shame.
been shame. It was,
Yeah,
that it was too much.
Yeah, I feel like it's too much even talking about. I can imagine it being portrayed on.
Hard to make shame feel like a good emotion.
Yeah,
I feel like each one kind of you find the balance of, this is why we need that one, and shame might not be a fun one to play with.
I feel like competition could be voiced by John Hamm, and I feel like who would voice shame? That's got to be.
John
Is that
C.
Mark
Reilly.
Maron?
Mark Maron, no. Wow, that's good.
Who's in on that?
That's not, well done.
There's a moment in the film where Riley's knowledge of Riley has a whole back catalog of knowledge from when she was a kid, and it becomes a factor of like this thing that she didn't really need before, but she has tons of knowledge about music, and it becomes something that becomes handy in conversation. Do you have anything from your childhood that you just became an expert on that every once in a while you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. I love talking about that.
Oh wow.
God. There were so many things that I was so smart at.
I know a lot about the Protestant church culture. My dad's a minister, so I can throw that out quite a bit. And then I know a lot about wrestling and movies and things that I was sort of magnetized too early on.
Yeah, and I knew everything about you know the movies of the '60s, the ones that came out of France, all of those things into the early
French
70s.
New Wave.
French New Wave, tons. I mean, all of Truffaut. I watched every movie that what's his name Godard made. I watched all of that stuff. All the stuff that was coming out at that point, which we've never returned to. Never. No.
That's really cool. All right, I'm going to end with this. Paul, as a big comic book fan myself, if you had to take one of the emotions in Inside Out 2 and use it to describe what you think we'll feel when we see your character in Fantastic Four,
whoa!
which one
Look
are we
at
going to
you
get?
getting crafty to try to get some form of a. You know what? No matter what, I will be portraying some even sliver of joy because I get to be in a Marvel movie, which guys like me don't always get to be in movies like that.
I love it, man. Well, Inside Out 2 is fantastic. Thank you so much for talking with me about it.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Inside Out 2 is fantastic. The first Inside Out, I really do believe, is my favorite Pixar movie. And I was like going into this like, oh, please be good, please be good. And it is. It's so fantastic.
Great.
So I want to start there. Like, what kind of pressure do you feel when you're following up such a beloved film that's like one of those, oh, should we touch it? And you do, and it turns out well. What kind of pressure do you feel? How do you first find that way in?
Yeah, none. Didn't feel anything. No pressure.
Sure.
No pressure at all.
You got this.
I mean, honestly, like feeling pressure at Pixar is nothing new. It's hard to make great movies, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations, especially on a movie like Inside Out, where people love it. You're not the only one who has kind of said that to us. It means a lot to a lot of people outside the studios and inside the studio too. But we never. Here's the thing, like Pete Docter, he directed the original film as the chief creative officer. When he came to me and said, like, I think there's potential to do another one, but if we don't find anything that we're excited about, then we won't make it. And so we wanted to make sure that we were doing another sequel for a good reason.
Yeah. There's a moment in the film that really stands out to me. It's early on, so I don't think this is a spoiler to mention it, where Joy and Sadness hold hands and they decide to go somewhere together. I'll leave it. You know what I'm talking about. Seeing Joy and Sadness kind of need each other was a really powerful, subtle, powerful moment. I would love to hear about just finding the evolution in that relationship and what a human place that comes from and what it says about how you guys represent how we do need to have emotions that balance each other out to be able to feel them all and be joyful.
I love that little moment. That was a moment we decided to do when we were animating that particular shot. We're like, oh, that'd be really sweet. They kind of hold hands. And what I like about it is it's kind of what I think is the key to making a good sequel is you don't just repeat what the last film did. You try to expand and grow and evolve. And that includes like locations and characters and ultimately the relationships. So what we're talking about, that they're like best friends now, and their relationship is different. And it's really sweet to kind of see that evolution kind of happen.
That Joy-Sadness relationship is so beautiful in the first film, and that was like our bar. We're like, for the relationship between joy and anxiety, we're like, we have to have an entertaining, connectable relationship that's as powerful as the one Joy and Sadness had in the first film.
So good. I mean, I don't want to compare it to like Joker and Batman because nobody's a villain, but it is that like we need each other sort of thing.
Yes.
Whereas typically you might look at Sadness and go, I don't want you.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, you know what? We do. We need that.
Yes.
I love that. The visual representation of a panic attack was incredible.
That's awesome.
Talk to me about how you found a way to show that, to visualize something that so many of us experienced.
That took a lot of work to get the right feel, and there's lots of departments that pull that off. That's between the layout department, which is like really our cinematographers, and then there's the lighting department.
The animation.
The animation of it. Everybody has to work together. There's some shots in this movie that I can't believe we're able to pull off and make. I'm like, you guys, this is like amazing work, and it's some of my favorite shots we've ever done at Pixar.
And the research really also informed that moment also, and just like how do you process going through a panic attack, and how do you bring yourself out of that? And touching something in the feel and listening and connecting with like your senses. A lot of what was in there too was inspired by the research.
Okay, it was incredible. Like I was like, oh, if this ever happens to me again, this is what I'm going to picture. It's probably going to help me get out of it. Felt like a bit of a therapy moment for me in the theater. It's insane.
Yeah, it's awesome.
There are some things possibly that that are seeded into this film. Maybe if there's an Inside Out 3, we get to explore them further. Yeah. Is that so, like, were you guys kind of conscious of that? And it's been 9 years since the first one, so if you were, do you think it's the same amount of time if we do see Inside Out 3?
I love this world. It's such a world. It's such a great world to play in, and ideas just kind of come from playing in this world, both for like locations and characters. There's so many ideas, not only from the first film, but especially in this one, where I'm like, that's a really fun, clever idea. I don't know how it fits into this particular story, but it should be used at some point. One of my favorites is a location that we came up with called Procrastination Land. This is a land I definitely have, especially at this age.
Teenage years.
Where it was a land in which it had a big sign that said Procrastination Land, and then it said Coming Soon. And then Anger was like, when are they going to start building that place? It just keeps, sitting there. They haven't made any movement on it. It's such a funny idea. We had trouble figuring out why is it in this particular story, but it's such a funny idea that I'm like, and I won't tell you everything about it. There's some other stuff about it that's really funny. So I'm like, this has to be used somehow in the future.
I hope so.
Well, you guys rocked it on this one. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks.
Oh, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.